Hare Krishna. So, welcome everyone on Tuesday evening Bhagavad Gita class in meeting after a long time. So, continuing where we left. So, we'll be starting with Bhagavad Gita chapter 5 today. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim. Yat kripatamaham vande Shri Guru Dinatarinim. Paramanandamadhavam Shri Chaitanyeshwaram. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Once again, welcome everyone. So we'll be starting with chapter 5 of Bhagavad Gita today. Before that, let's quickly recap first 4 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, what has been discussed so far. So chapter 1 of Bhagavad Gita speaks about Arjuna's grief. And chapter 1, if we see the first section of chapter 1, actually talking about various stories which are related from Mahabharata, right? What are the different situations, why particular things happen, who is on the side of Kauravas, who is on the side of Pandavas. So all the stories related to Mahabharata. And in the second chapter, Lord Krishna, he revealed to Arjuna the science of self, the science of soul, and explained that since the soul is immortal, nobody would die in this war. So there is no need to grieve for anybody. So it was foolish to lament. And then Krishna reminded Arjuna that he should perform his duty. He should perform his karma, his social duty, which is as a Kshatriya, to fight in this war on the side of dharma, on the side of righteousness. But since karma binds, because every karma there is a reaction, so the karma binds one to the fruits of action. So Krishna encouraged Arjuna to work without the attachment with results, to dedicate the result of his work to Krishna. And in that way, his action would then become as karma yoga. Basically, activity or uniting oneself with God through one's work, through one's action. And Krishna also talked about working with intelligence. He gives a talks about a sthita dhira atmaram person, and how does the atmaram person act, how does he walk, how does he talk, how does he do various activities. So Krishna talked about working with intelligence. Krishna used the term buddhi yoga. So after this second chapter, the discussion is over. Now the third chapter opens. The third chapter is titled as Karma Yoga. So in the beginning of third chapter, the first verse, Arjuna is asking a question to Krishna. What is his question? Arjuna is saying, O Janardana, O Keshava, why do you want me to engage in this ghastly warfare? If you think that intelligence is better than fruitive work, Because in second chapter, Krishna spoke about working with intelligence, working with Buddhi Yoga. So working with intelligence means Arjuna is taking it to be giving up work. So Arjuna's question was, why you want to engage me in this work of war if you are thinking working in intelligence is better, or if you think intelligence is better. So in the third chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is talking about the karma as a karma yoga principle, working with intelligence, renouncing not the action but renouncing the result of one's action. So Krishna is talking about karma phala tyaga. So chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita, the focus of chapter 3 is detachment from the material so that it leads to purification. So in the third chapter, Lord Krishna explained that one should perform one's duty to purify the mind. And he also said that a person who has already developed a purified mind, he is not obliged to perform any social duty. So that is third chapter, Karma Yoga, working for purification, detaching oneself from the material. Now, in the fourth chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna talked about various kinds of sacrifice. The title of fourth chapter is Jnana Yoga, transcendental knowledge. And Krishna explained the various level of sacrifices, various kinds of sacrifices one performs to please the Supreme Lord. And he concluded by saying that the sacrifices performed in knowledge, those are better than material ritualistic sacrifices. And he also said that all sacrifice end in the knowledge of one's relationship with God. And Krishna talked about 434 that one should approach a bona fide guru pariprashnena sevaya. So one should approach a bona fide guru, inquire from him, render service unto him. So the chapter 4 is gaining transcendental knowledge, performing various sacrifices to please the Supreme Lord. And again, in conclusion of this discussion, Krishna again introduced the principle of karma sannyas, that one should give up all these ritualistic duties and social obligations, and rather one should engage in the service of the Lord with the body, mind, and soul. So if we see fourth chapter of Bhagavad Gita actually is sandwiched between two chapters which talk about Karma Yoga. Chapter 3, which is titled as Karma Yoga, and the chapter 5, which is titled as Karma Sannyasa Yoga. So chapter 4 is sandwiched between the two chapters of Karma Yoga. Now, again, in chapter 3, the focus is on detachment from the material. Whereas in chapter 5, the focus is attachment to the spirit, attachment to the spiritual. So, because chapter 4 also again ended with Krishna talking about karma sannyas and again asking Arjuna, get up and fight. So, again, chapter 5 opens with Arjuna's question. Yeah, Arjuna asked. So, the first verse of chapter 5 is again Arjuna's question, talking about why you want to engage me in this activity. Please tell me for certain what is better. Is karma sannyas better, or engaging in work is better? So that is Arjuna's question. So first verse, Arjuna is saying, Arjuna uvacha sannyasam karmanah Krishna punaryogam na samshasi yat shreya ityorekam tanme bruhi sunishchitam. So tanme bruhi sunishchitam. Please tell me conclusively, what should I fight or not? Because last instruction of chapter 4 about fighting seems contradictory to Arjuna. Arjuna is thinking Krishna spoke about being situated in knowledge. and now again asking me to engage in work. So what should I really do? Now Arjuna's question is Sannyasam Karmanah Krishna Punar Yogom na Sanshasi. Is karma sannyas better or working in devotion or karma yoga? Is karma yoga better or karma sannyas better? Please tell me conclusively. That is Arjuna's question. So now up to here, if we see chapter 3, as he said, focus was detachment from material for the purpose of purification. Now in chapter 5, we'll see the focus is attachment in spiritual for the purpose of perfection. So that is a difference in chapter 3 and chapter 5. And also, we should understand there is a 3D concept in Bhagavad Gita. What is the 3Ds in Bhagavad Gita? First D is dutiful. One should be dutiful in performing one's swadharma, which Krishna spoke about in chapter 2. Then second D is detachment, growing in detachment from the material. Krishna spoke about that in chapter 3. Now third D is devotion. So growing in devotion, that is Krishna going to speak in chapter 5, and then further chapter 7 through 12, that will be the main focus, growing in devotion. So chapter 5 opens with Arjuna's question. Now I will give you an overview of chapter 5. Chapter 5 overview is, if we simply want to remember the overall content of this chapter 5, we can remember it with one acronym. Okay, the acronym for this chapter will use as STEP, STEP, STEP. So the first 12 verses of chapter 5, they are S, means stay in the world. Krishna is going to talk about the comparison between karma sannyas and karma yoga, and then say that karma yoga is better than karma sannyas for general people. For most people in this world, karma yoga is better than karma sannyas. So stay in this world and perform your duties with devotion without getting attached to the result of one's work. So that is S, stay in the world. And then T means, T stands for three doers. Krishna is going to explain the concept of three doers. We are not the only doer. As a spirit soul or this body, we are not the only doer. There are other factors which help in performing any activity. So Krishna is going to speak about three doers. And then in the third section, text 17 through 26, Krishna is going to speak about the equal vision of a transcendentalist. How a transcendentalist see everybody equally or everything equally. He sees the Supreme Lord in everything and everywhere. And then the last section, the last three verses is P, peace formula. Krishna is going to explain, he's going to introduce the concept of Ashtanga Yoga and Bhakti Yoga, which will be more detailed explained in chapter 6. Ashtanga Yoga will be explained in chapter 6, and then Bhakti Yoga will be explained 7 through 12 chapters. And then Krishna ends with the peace formula, how one can stay peacefully within this material world. So that is the overall overview of this chapter, we can say from the bird's eye view. So remember this acronym, STEP. Okay, what does STEP mean? Anybody will like to quickly say what is this STEP?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. First, step S stands for stay in this world and perform your duty. T stands for three doers. E stands for equal vision of a transcendentalist. And P stands for peace formula.
Okay, very good. All right, so chapter 5 started with Arjuna's question. Now we'll move to text number 2. Krishna starts answering Arjuna's question and explaining, because Arjuna has very specifically asked, okay, please tell me conclusively what is better. Karma sannyas is better or karma yoga is better? What am I supposed to do? Okay, so very clear question. So Krishna is giving a very clear answer also. Now here, text 2 and 3, Krishna is going to say what is better and why. So Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Sanyasah Karma Yogascha Nishreyaskrab Ubhav Tayostu Karma Sanyasat Karma Yogo Vishishyate. So the personality of Godhead replied. So Lord Krishna replied, the renunciation of work, sannyasa, and karma yoga, the work in devotion, are both good for liberation. But of the two, work in devotion service is better than renunciation of work. So Krishna is saying karma sannyas and karma yoga, they are both good. They both will lead to liberation. But of the two, karma yoga is better than karma sannyas. Okay. So somebody may be surprised with this answer. Sometimes we think somebody who is completely renounced, they have given up everything, they are wearing saffron clothes, so they are supposed to be better. But here Krishna is saying for journal people, for most of the population, karma yoga is better than karma sannyas. Even though both will lead to, ultimately both will lead to liberation. Nishreyaskara ubhav. Both are capable of leading one to the path of liberation. So comparison between karma sannyas and karma yoga. What is the difference? Now, listen carefully. Right? What is the difference between a karma yogi or a karma sannyasi? Karma yogi is one who does both spiritual duties also and his social duties also. So basically, we have two dharma, Swadharma and Sanatan Dharma. Swadharma means which is related to our body, our Varna and Ashrama system. So somebody is a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, or so from that aspect of Varna Ashrama, we have Swadharma. Somebody has occupation, somebody have to take care of their family. So anything related to body, any duties related to this body, that is Swadharma. Sanatan Dharma means we are spirit soul, we are part and parcel of Krishna. Based on that, we have Sanatan Dharma, our eternal duty, our eternal Dharma. Now, a karma yogi, he performs both duties. He performs his social duties also, and he performs his spiritual duty also. Social duties are done with body, while internally mind is attached to the Lord. Okay? Externally, one may be living in this world, performing all his duties, but internally, mind is connected with the Supreme Lord. In that way, it becomes a karma yogi. So we should always think that all of our actions are being observed by the Supreme Lord and by the Guru. So that is the sadhana of a karma yogi, by which gradually one elevates from this bodily consciousness to spiritual consciousness. So on the other side now, karma sannyas or karma sannyasi, what is the definition of a karma sannyasi? Karma sannyasi is those who have completely risen beyond the bodily conception. So they have gone beyond the bodily platform. So they do not perform any social duties. They have no need to perform any social duties. They completely discard the social duties. And they only perform the duties related to Sanatan Dharma. Basically, complete absorption in the Supreme Lord and engage entirely in their Sanatan Dharma. So performance of spiritual duties, basically devotional activities to the Supreme Lord. Now, can we quote some examples, okay, from some well-known devotees from our recent histories, like 500 years? We can say one very popular example is Mirabai. And Mirabai, even though she is married, but she rejected to fulfill any social duties. She is living with the husband, but she rejected to fulfill the duty as a wife to bore children. And so, like that, there are so many other examples. So, Mirabai gave up her swadharma and kind of social obligations, social duties, because she is completely beyond the bodily platform and performing only devotional activities. We can say Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Supreme Lord himself, but he came as the guise of his own devotee. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also accepted the sannyas order of life, completely giving up the social responsibilities, social duties, and completely absorbing in devotional activities. So this sentiment of a karma sannyasi is also expressed by Lakshmana also. Lakshmana, when he was told by Lord Ramachandra that you stay back in Ayodhya, you take care of father, mother, guru, this kingdom, Ayodhya. What was Lakshmana's response? Lakshmana said, you are everything for me. More sabhai ek tum swami, deen bandhu or antarayami. So Lakshman told Lord Ramachandra, for me, you are my everything. You are my master, you are my father, mother, brother, my friend, my guru, you are everything. I will only fulfill my duty towards you with all my might. So please do not tell me about any other bodily duties. So that is the principle of a karma sannyasi, not being obliged by any social responsibilities, but completely dedicating to Sanatan Dharma, which is devotional service to the Lord. Now, however, in this verse, so we see what is the difference between a karma yogi and karma sannyasi. So Krishna is saying in this verse, both are good, both are capable of leading to liberation, but out of two, karma yoga is a preferred path. So Krishna is recommending to Arjuna karma yoga being as a preferred path. Why? Because karma sannyasis are exposed to a bigger danger. Why? Because people may renounce their worldly duties, they take to sannyas. Sometimes people may take to sannyas because of some frustration, some material disturbances. They have family issues, problem. Somebody has problem with spouse, somebody has problem with job. So they artificially feel vairagya. They say enough is enough. I am fed up with all this material responsibilities. Better I just give up everything and go away. So somebody may artificially renounce their worldly duties because of some problems, because of some frustration, because of being troubled of doing work. But even they go away, one should remember that one is still carrying the six wives, which is five senses and one mind. So unless one is engaged in positive activity, one's mind will always be disturbed. So if having renounced their swadharma and later they cannot absorb their mind in the Supreme Lord, they are at a bigger risk of falling down. So we see practically, right, in India, there are thousands of such sadhus. They may have felt detachment earlier and thus they renounce the world. But ultimately, their minds are still not attached to the Supreme Lord. They could not experience that divine bliss of the spiritual path. Even though they may be wearing the saffron cloth, the clothes of a mendicants, but they indulge in so many grossly sinful activities, smoking ganja, smoking bidis, just walking here and there and begging from others. So in that way, that's why Krishna is saying karma yoga is a preferred path, because karma sannyasis, they are exposed to a bigger danger. On the other side, let's say karma yogi, they do their worldly duties also without getting attached to the result of one's action while remembering God, and they perform their spiritual practice also. So even if their mind, let's say, turn away from spirituality for some reason, at least they have their work to fall upon on. They have a backup, something to fall upon, rather than having a completely empty mind or free mind. As they say, um, khali man shaitan ka ghar. So at least they have something to engage themselves on, and in that way engage their mind and senses. So karma yoga is thus a safer path for majority of people. And we see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also instructed the same principle. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he took sannyas, he went to Jagannath Puri. After staying in Jagannath Puri for couple of months, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I want to go to the tour of South India. And while Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was on the tour of South India, he went to Kurma Kshetra. He stayed at the house of a Kurma Brahman. And as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is about to leave from that place, this Kurma Brahman, he said, I also want to go with you. I want to renounce everything. I want to give up my family, give up my occupation. Please take me with you. I want to engage. I want to completely engage in karma sannyas. So what did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tell that person? Did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, yes, very good. You come with me, just renounce everything, give up everything. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told this person, प्रभु कहे ऐसी बात कबू न कहिबा ग्रह रही कृष्ण नाम निरंतर लैबा. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, never speak like this ever. You stay at your home, perform your worldly duties, perform your social obligations, social responsibilities, but continuously chant the name of Krishna. Krishna Nama Nirantar Laiva. So you engage in both your social responsibilities also as well as your spiritual activities also. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu further instructed, Jare dakhe tahe kahe Krishna upadesh. Hamari agya hoye, hamari agya guru hoye taro ei desh. Whomever you meet, you speak about Krishna. So that is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also instructed. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also said karma yoga is better than karma sannyas. Because one should not think, oh, if I am staying in this world, performing my duties, ultimately every action will lead to bondage. We have to understand what is the cause of bondage. Cause of bondage is not simply the activity. Cause of bondage is attachment. Attachment to the result of one's activity. If there is no attachment, then karma does not cause bondage. And ultimately, not every action causes bondage. Because even the devotional activities, if we see the activity of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, these are also activities. We are engaging our senses in these activities also. But these activities do not lead to bondage in this world. So not every activity lead to bondage. The what leads to bondage is attachment. So no attachment, no bondage. But because if somebody has a desire to enjoy, because of that, the soul gets melded with the body. That is what binds the soul to the body. The desire to enjoy the results of one's action, that is the binding factor. Just understanding that, oh, I am not the body, I am the spirit soul, that alone may not be sufficient. That alone may not be sufficient for liberation, because one has to act also in that platform that I am not the body, I am the spirit soul. Otherwise, just theoretically understanding, keep chanting this mantra, oh, I am not the body, I am the spirit soul, I am not the body, I am the spirit soul. That itself is not going to give us escape from this material bondage. But if one act on that platform also, act in the state of Krishna consciousness, then he can become free from this bondage. And what is the meaning of real renunciation also? Here in the scriptures it is explained, renunciation is complete when one comes to this understanding that everything in this material world, everything in this existence, that belongs to the Supreme Lord. So no one should claim proprietorship over everything. So one should understand that nothing belongs to anybody. Everything belongs to the Supreme Lord. He is the supreme proprietor. If one gets to this understanding, then where is the question of renunciation? Because one understand everything belongs to Krishna, nothing belongs to me. When nothing belongs to me, what can I really give up? Right? Then where is the question of renunciation? So that level of understanding, that level of knowledge is important, and that is real renunciation. So if we really want to renounce something, what do we need to renounce? We need to renounce this illusion that these things belong to me. We need to renounce this illusion that I am the body. So we just need to renounce this illusion and come to this understanding that everything actually belongs to Krishna. So it may be very easy to say everything here, that everything belongs to Krishna, but it is very difficult to come to that realization, or very difficult to come to that platform of acting in that way. The simple reason why we engage in sense gratification only due to the fact that we think it belongs to me. Right? That's why somebody engages in the activity of sense gratification. So now, after explaining this point here, what Krishna has said, karma sannyas, karma yoga, both are good, both can lead to liberation. Out of two, Krishna is saying, I recommend the path of karma yoga. Now, next verse, Krishna is saying, further explaining why karma yoga is better. So, third verse, Gehe sa nitya sannyasi yona dveshti na kankshati nirdvandvo hi mahabaho sukham bandhat pramuchyate. The karma yogi who neither desire nor hate the fruits of his activities. Gehe sa nitya sannyasi yo na dveshati na kankshati. So the karma yogi who neither desires the fruit of his activity, neither he hates the fruit of his activity, that should be considered as always renounced. So nirdvandvo hi mahabaho, free from all the dualities, they are liberated from the bonds of material energy very easily. Nirdvando hi mahabaho sukham bandhat pramuchyate. So the way the karma yogi perform in this world is, even though engaging in the activities to fulfill their social obligations, social responsibilities, to take care of their maybe family, to take care of their occupation. So even though they are engaging in the activities, but they are not getting attached to the result. And if somebody is coming out of the will of the Lord, they are accepting it, not hating any result. So they are free from all the dualities, and in that way they can become liberated from the bonds of this material energy. So externally, if we see, inactivity may seem very easy. Somebody may think, oh, just sit and do nothing. It seems very easy that I will just sit down and do nothing. But internally, inactivity is very difficult, because we have been affected by these modes of passion. And because of this passion, there is a lot of passion inside, which makes us going in circles and circles. Even though one may be sitting silent, sitting still at one place, but one's mind is reeling everywhere, mind is going everywhere. So externally, inactivity may seem very easy, but internally, inactivity is very different, very difficult. On the other hand, externally, working seems to be very difficult, right? The activity may seem very difficult externally. That, oh, somebody has to work so hard in this world to maintain himself. But internally, activity is very natural, because the soul itself is also very active, and this is our natural situation to engage in some work. So internally, activity is natural. So karma yogi, they continue to engage in their worldly duties while internally practicing detachment. So they accept both the positive and negative outcomes with equanimity, without any uh, hatred or attachment to that. and they consider everything as the will of the Lord, everything as the grace of the Lord. And Lord has designed this world so beautifully. It makes us experience both happiness and distress for our gradual elevation. Right? In this world, there is little happiness also, and there is a lot of suffering also. So both are given. The world is designed like that. So ultimately, one gradually elevate one's consciousness. And if we continue to lead our lives in Krishna conscious way and tolerate whatever comes our way. See, when we are living in this material world, one has to tolerate so many situations. We interact with so many people. One has to tolerate maybe sometimes somebody's bad behavior, somebody's criticism, somebody's yelling and shouting, and also sometimes some sweet words. So both situation come. So one has to tolerate so many things, whatever comes their way. So in that way, naturally, this material world pushes one towards gradual detachment and ultimately spiritual elevation. So if we act in that way in this material world, then we can slowly become detached from this world and attach ourselves with the Supreme Lord. And by facing the happiness and the distress, overcoming one's dualities, one get the realized knowledge rather than artificial renunciation. And when our heart is purified, then it becomes as a suitable place for the Lord. See, in the spiritual practice, if we really see, what matters is intention of the mind, not the external activities. Even though one may be living in Vrindavan, but if the mind is contemplating about visiting some other places, visiting Lal Killa, visiting Taj Mahal, so even though somebody may be living in the holy land of Vrindavan, but mind is going to all these different places. So in that way, one is considered to be living in those places. But conversely, if a person is living in Detroit also, in California also, wherever the person may be living, but if the mind is absorbed in Vrindavan, then he will get the benefit of residing there. So all our Vedic scripture, what do they say? That our level of consciousness is determined by the state of our mind. That's why it says, Mana eva manushyanam karana bandha mokshayo. Mind is the cause of one's bondage also, and mind is the cause of one's liberation also. So mind, where our mind is, that's what matter. So even though somebody, karma yoga, what is the principle of karma yoga? Engage externally in the activities of the world while the mind is attached to the Supreme Lord. Right? That is the principle of karma yoga. So our mind should be attached to the Supreme Lord while still externally our senses are engaged in this world to perform our worldly duties. But on the other side, if somebody has completely renounced the work, but their mind is still going in the activities of the world, then they do not get the benefit of that karma sannyas. That's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually says in Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is a beautiful verse. And these words, actually, few days back, in my sleep, unconscious state of my mind, this first section of this verse was going in my mind. Bahu janama kare jadi kirtan, shravana kirtan. So this one line was repeatedly going on in my mind. And next morning when I got up, I sort of I want to search what is this verse is going on in my mind. So then I searched up, it came out a verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita, and the complete verse is Bahu janama kare yadi shravana kirtan tabhuna paye Krishna pade premadhan. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying, even if somebody continuously engage in Shravana Kirtan for many, many lifetimes, still one is not able to get the love of Godhead. What is the reason for that? Because one is externally engaging in devotional activities, engaging one's senses in devotional activities, but one's mind is not absorbed on the Supreme Lord. Mind is reeling on the material activities and the worldly activities. Then one cannot develop that love of God. So it's not about that engaging our senses in devotional service and mind is running towards material activities. It should be other way. That's why Kabir also says, actually on the similar lines, Kabir also says, Mala pherat jug bhaya, firana man ka pher. Karka man ka dar ke man ka pher. Even though somebody may be handing the chanting mala in his hands and moving the beads, but if the mind is going somewhere else, mind is not absorbed on the Supreme Lord, then he does not get that benefit. Better is one need to absorb the mind in the Supreme Lord. That's why in Bhagavad Gita, what is Krishna is telling in third chapter also, and it will come in eighth chapter also, Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is saying, Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara yuddhacha. You engage in your duty. Arjuna's duty was to fight as a Kshatriya. So Krishna is saying you engage in your duty while always remembering me. Okay, that is the principle of Karma Yoga. So with mind, you always remember me and engage your senses in the activity of the world, in your worldly duties. But for most of us, what is happening? We are doing opposite. We have attached our mind in this world and we are engaging the senses in the activities of the Supreme Lord. So if we just continue like that, externally, the tongue is vibrating the name, the hand are moving the beads. Yes, that also gives some benefit. It's not that it does not give benefit. That also leads to purification. Even in unconscious state of mind, somebody chant the holy name, they get the benefit. Their sins are eradicated, they get the purification. But what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying here, one does not develop the love of the Supreme Lord. तभो न पाए कृष्ण पदे प्रेम धन. Our goal is not just to remove the sins or purify the mind. Our goal is to develop love of Godhead. That is the whole purpose of this sadhana. So if mind is not attached to the Supreme Lord and one is externally doing these activities, then one may miss that ultimate goal. So here Krishna is saying the karma yogi, why path of karma yoga is better? Because they are engaging in the activities of this world without attachment, without the desire to get something, or without hating the fruits of their activity, being free from dualities, and in that way they can completely, or they can become freed from the bonds of this material energy. Okay, so that is third verse of this chapter. Now moving on to the fourth one. So hopefully it's getting clear what is the difference between Karma Yoga and Karma Sannyas, and why Krishna is saying Karma Yoga is better for most of the people. There are always a scenario where people do follow the path of Karma Sannyas, but those are very few examples, few scenarios, and one should be following that path under a very careful guidance of Guru. Okay, not by just following one's own whims. Oh, I feel like giving up everything, so I will go and just wear saffron and go away. If somebody is having that calling from the heart to follow that path, that also should be followed under the careful guidance of the Guru. Now, text 4. Sankhya yogo पृथग् बालाः प्रवदन्ति न पंडितः एकम अपि स्थितः सम्यग् उभयोर विन्दते phalam. So here Krishna says Sankhya yogo prithak bala. Bala here referring to a child. So only a childish person or a ignorant speak of Sankhya and yoga or karma yoga as two different paths. But those who are truly learned, they say that applying ourselves to any of these two paths, we can achieve the same result. So interestingly, here Krishna is using the word Sankhya to address karma sannyas. And yoga, of course, is as karma yoga. So here, Sankhya is addressing karma sannyas. So again, if we see from that context here, what is Krishna is saying? Only a ignorant person speaks of karma sannyas and karma yoga as two separate paths. But those who are truly learned, panditaha, they say that if somebody follows any of these two paths, we can achieve the same result. So text 4 is also very similar to text 2, right? Where Krishna was saying that both karma sannyas and karma yoga, they are capable of leading one to liberation. So here also the same way Krishna is saying karma sannyas and karma yoga, they are both same only. There is no difference if one really understand that path. So why is that? Because in both karma yoga and karma sannyas, the goal is same. Goal is to attain the Supreme Lord. See, Sankhya, which is karma sannyas here, Sankhya focuses on finding the root of the tree. The word Sankhya comes from Sankhya. Sankhya means counting. So Sankhya generally is referred as analytical study of this material world. The understanding the material world by the different elements of this material world. Oh, there are 24 elements. So in that way, coming to the conclusion that everything is coming from the Supreme Lord. So the Sankhya focuses on finding the root of the tree, and Karma Yoga focuses on watering the root. Right? Karma Yoga means connecting ourselves based on our action. So that is Karma Yoga. So Karma Yoga focuses on watering the root. Now, if suppose there is a mango tree and you water the mango tree with proper knowledge of everything, proper knowledge of the irrigation system, how the roots they suck up the water, how this capillary action takes place. So if you water the tree with this all this knowledge, or you water the tree without having any knowledge, does it lead to any different taste of mango? In both situation, mango is going to grow in same way on that tree. So in a sense, there is no difference between the two, because the aim is to kind of nourish the fruit on that tree. So same way Sankhya, which is Karma Sannyas, and Karma Yoga, both are same because aim is the Supreme Lord, to achieve the Supreme Lord. Now it is important to understand here the renunciation is of also two types. Okay. What are the two types of renunciation? One is Falgu Vairagya, another is Yukta Vairagya. So maybe most of you maybe hopefully have heard these terms, Falgu Vairagya and Yukta Vairagya. Falgu Vairagya is where people develop that sense of detachment because of being troubled by this material world. They look upon this world as very troublesome, cumbersome. So they renounce it with the desire of getting rid of responsibility and hardships. Such Falgu Vairagya is basically an escapist mentality, which is very unstable. So the renunciation of such person is motivated by the desire to run away from the difficulty. Now, when such person run away from the material world because of difficulty and they say, okay, we'll go to the spiritual path. But in the spiritual path also, if they encounter some difficulty, then they become detached from there as well. Oh, they think, oh, it's too difficult to understand all these things. What is spirit? What is Supreme Lord? What is Kirano Dakshay Vishnu, Shiro Dakshay Vishnu? All that, oh, it's too much. So that also seems very difficult for them, and they want to give up that also, get detached from that as well. And then they are neither on this side nor on that side. Sometimes they just want to run back to the material world again, worldly life again. So that is Falgu Vairagya, the renunciation, artificial renunciation to run away from the responsibilities because they think, oh, it's everything is too difficult. On the other side, Yukta Vairagya is where people see the whole world as the energy of the Lord. They do not see what they possess as their belongings, and they do not wish to enjoy it for themselves. Instead, they are motivated by the desire to serve God with whatever one may have. So that is Yukta Vairagya. So engaging everything what we have in the service of the Supreme Lord. That we have this laptop, so utilizing this laptop also in the service of the Lord. Using your cell phone in the service of the Supreme Lord. So utilizing everything in the service of the Supreme Lord, that is Yukta Vairagya, rather than just artificially renouncing. So Yukta Vairagya is very stable, and we see so many examples from our scriptures, from the Puranas, especially in Bhagavad Purana also, which talk about so many great kings. They had all the opulences in the world. They, some of the great kings, so they are very opulent, but they are not attached to their opulences for their personal sense enjoyment. Rather, they are utilizing their opulences in the service of the Lord. So they are performing their worldly duties as their swadharma, their social responsibilities, but their minds are focused on the Supreme Lord. So example of Prahalad Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj, Ambarish Maharaj, Prithu Maharaj, Vibhishan, Yudhishthira Maharaj, Janak Maharaj. So there are so many examples like that. So all these examples are for those devotees who, rather than karma sannyas, completely giving up their work, they took the path of karma yoga and ultimately basically bhakti yoga. So that is text 5.4, where Krishna says, only a ignorant thinks of these two as separate. Ultimately, both can give the same result. Why? Because the goal is same. Goal is to attain the Supreme Lord. Now, text 5.5, the, well, just directly read the translation. The supreme state that is attained by means of Sankhya, again, Sankhya here, referring to Karma Sannyas, is also attained by Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga means working in devotion. So again, the supreme state that is attained by means of Karma Sannyas is also attained by Karma Yoga. Hence, those who see Karma Sannyas and Karma Yoga to be identical, truly they see things as they are. Okay, so again, Krishna is emphasizing on this point that one should consider Karma Yoga and Karma Sannyas to be identical. And they truly see things as they are. So the point is the destination which is obtained by Karma Sannyas is also attained by Karma Yoga. So there is diversity in the path, but goal is same. These two paths, Karma Yoga or Karma Sannyas, these two paths lead to the same goal. But one should not mistakenly think that all paths lead to the same goal. Okay, because Krishna had spoken about that in 4th chapter, where Krishna says everybody is on my path, and many people misinterpret it saying all paths lead ultimately to Krishna. So that is not true. Not all paths lead to the same goal, but Krishna is saying these two paths, Karma Yoga and Karma Sannyas, they lead to the same goal, which is to attain the Supreme Lord. Now, in 5th chapter, Krishna is taking basically little deeper and saying that Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga, because Sankhya sometimes is referred also as Jnana Yoga. So Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga are at the same level. It is not that by practicing Jnana Yoga, one will attain a higher destination. So when we talk about the yoga ladder, we say the Nishkam Karma, Karma Yoga, then Jnana Yoga. So Jnana Yoga is placed higher on the yoga ladder than Karma Yoga. But even though in yoga ladder it's higher, Krishna is saying ultimately they are at the same level in terms of attaining the result. Result attained is same. And both are meant for bringing up the liberation. And one who sees like that, that is the person who actually sees. So in the process of Sankhya or in Karma Sannyas, one has to become detached from matter. And in the process of devotional yoga, which is Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga, one has to attach himself to the work of Krishna consciousness. So one focuses on first detaching from matter, whereas other focuses on attaching to spirit, attaching to spiritual. Ultimately, both processes are same. Although superficially, one seems to be involving detachment and other process appears to be involving attachment. So detachment from matter and attachment to Krishna, ultimately both are the same. When one develops detachment from this material world, ultimately they need to attach themselves to something higher, something spiritual. So one who sees these things, sees they see as the they factually see. Once a disciple went to the Guru and he asked the Guru, please tell me how can I realize the God? And Guru said, okay, right now from here where you are standing, start running and always think that God is also running by my side. And disciple said, can I find God by just walking also? Guru said, of course. Start walking right now and always think God is walking by my side. And disciple said, oh, can I find God by simply standing at the same place where I am? Guru said, of course. Just stand at that place and always think God is standing next to me. So, what is this story indicating? It's not only in activity, but in consciousness. It's not about the external activity, but where our consciousness is. Our senses may be engaged in the worldly activities, but where our mind is, our mind should be absorbed in the Supreme Lord. So, one's consciousness plays the role. What causes bondage is attachment. If there is no attachment, then karma does not cause bondage. That's why it says Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kami Sakle Ashant Krishna Bhakta Nishkam Ataeva Shant. There's somebody who has desire to enjoy this material world, somebody who is desiring of mystic powers or liberation. So all they are always restless. But devotee of the Lord who has no desires, he is completely peaceful. So it's not about the activity which is done, but the consciousness. The consciousness plays the big role. Okay, so we covered up to text number 5. We'll stop here today and we'll continue from text 6 in the next session. Okay, Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So we can have some discussion if somebody has any questions on these verses which we covered today.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, like you mentioned the shlok from Chaitanya Charitamrita Bhojanmayadi Kari Shravana Kirtana. Prabhuji, on the same lines, I just remember the shloka from the Brihad Vishnu Puran that नाम्नो हि यावती शक्ति पापनिर्हरणे हरे तावत् कर्तुं न शक्नोति पातकेन रम्. So that means that if one chants the single name of the Lord, that has the power to destroy all the sins. So
Yes.
how can reconcile these two, Prabhuji?
So I already answered that actually. So I mentioned what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is referring to. See, our goal, yes, one holy name is enough to remove all the sins. That is true. So all the sins can be removed by chanting the holy name once. But if we want to develop the purification of the heart, and ultimately the purpose is not just anartha nivritti, right? The 9 stages of gradual elevation. What is that? It starts with Shraddha, Ado Shraddha, Tata Sadhu Sangha, Tata Bhajana Kriya, to Anartha Nivritti. So, yes, Anartha Nivritti, or to say the sins have been eradicated by just one chanting of the holy name. But what is our goal? Our goal is to go further from there. Nishtha, Ruchi, Bhava, Asakti, Prema. So, ultimate goal is Prema. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is focusing on that goal, on the love of Godhead. Tabho na paye Krishna pade prema dhan. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying if somebody is chanting for lifetimes and many, many lifetimes also, but if their mind is not absorbed on the Supreme Lord, they are just externally doing these activities, they will not develop, they will not reach that ultimate goal, which is developing love of the God. Yes, one may be cleansed of all the sins. That is true. So that's why we say somebody may question if one chanting of holy name is enough to remove the sins, why we want to chant 16 rounds of every day? Right? It's the same question. So if one chanting of one holy name is enough, why to chant 16 rounds every day? Because our purpose is not just removing sins, our purpose is to develop that attachment to the Supreme Lord, develop that love for the Supreme Lord. And when you love the Supreme Lord, then you will not be asking this question of why I should chant only 16 rounds or why should I chant uh, any prescribed number of rounds. Then one want to chant continuously. So does that answer?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Any other question, comment?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I had a small question, so I posted in the chat actually. When you were talking about the two parts, Prabhuji, like Falgu Vairagya and Yukta Vairagya, those are, you said it's types of mukti, you said? I forgot that part, term
No,
you
no,
used.
it's not type of mukti. I did not mention anything like type of mukti.
Mhm.
I said there are two type of renunciation, Falgu Vairagya and Yukta Vairagya.
Renunciation, okay.
Okay, so Falgu Vairagya is artificial renunciation, giving up the worldly responsibility because of troubles, right? Because of being troubled by this world, by the hardship of this world. Whereas Yukta Vairagya means giving the attachment to one's possessions, giving the attachment to one's result of one's activity, and engaging everything in the service of the Lord. So that is Yukta
Okay.
Vairagya. So Yukta
Yes.
Vairagya also mean I have any particular skill, particular talent, I can utilize it in service of Krishna. That is also Yukta Vairagya,
Mm.
right? It's not that, oh, I give up my skill of presentation making, PowerPoint making. I can utilize the skill of PowerPoint making now in service of Lord. That is Yukta Vairagya.
Ji, Prabhuji. And Prabhuji, other thing about the Sankhya Yoga. So, if we talk about the yoga ladder, is it like you mentioned that it is
Sankhya
same
Yoga
as the
comes
Gyan Yoga?
after Karma Yoga. Yeah, Sankhya Yoga also refers as Jnana Yoga. So Jnana Yoga comes after Karma Yoga.
After
It's
Karma
higher
Yoga.
on the yoga ladder.
Yes.
But again, Krishna is saying even though Karma Yoga or Jnana Yoga comes higher on the yoga ladder, doesn't mean it leads to higher destination also. Both Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga, or basically Karma Sannyas and Karma Yoga, they lead to the same destination.
Okay. And Prabhuji, in one part, he was mentioning that like the ideal situation should be that we are using our senses and like worldly manners, and our mind is attached to Krishna. But in
Yes.
actual scenario, we are doing the opposite. Like our senses, we are using in devotional service, but our mind is not there.
Right. So we are doing wrong way as of now, let's say, right? That's why we need to bring in that change, and we want to focus our mind more on the Supreme Lord, not just the activity externally.
Okay.
Let's say if I'm doing arati,
Mhm.
while doing arati, I am making circles, right? धूप दिखा रहा हूँ, दिया दिखा रहा हूँ, पुष्प दिखा रहा हूँ, but my mind is going somewhere else, thinking of, oh, when I go home, then I'm going to enjoy this rasgulla. So then externally, I'm doing that devotional activity, but internally, I am absorbed more in sense enjoyment.
Mhm.
So that is wrong.
Okay. But
So
Prabhuji, other way is also, I mean, if we let senses go in and use in the worldly manner, somehow will be dragged in the material world. I mean, our mind will also, um, like we give the Rath example, right, Prabhuji? If senses are going outside, then somehow our whole system
that's
will
why
also be.
Krishna says one has to be very regulated. So
Mhm.
that is again going to come in 6th chapter also, where Krishna is going to say, okay, engage your senses, but regulate your senses. So it's not that you let the senses loose. You engage the senses in the world, but regulate. So all the activities, our ahara, nidra, and the activities of recreation, they should be all regulated.
Okay. Okay, Prabhuji. Sure. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Anything else? Okay, Hare Krishna. Then I think we'll end it here. Thank you everyone for joining. Okay. Srimad
you.
Bhagavad
Hare
Gita
Krishna.
Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Then Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.